Okay.
Hello, my name is LuAnn Hutto. I am a blogger at Inside the Walls and founder of Inside the Walls and Beyond Facebook page. I am here today with LuAnn Hutto. She owns T-Bar Drilling Inc. in the small town of Del Rio, Texas. Del Rio is at the Texas-Mexico border. On May the 6th, 2020, LuAnn hired Raquel Esquivel to work for her at her drilling business. Raquel had just returned home after serving 11 years in federal prison. Raquel had been released early on the CARES Act in April of 2020 and was serving the remainder of her sentence on an ankle monitor through the Dismissed Charities Halfway House. Raquel had certain restrictions because of her release under the CARES Act. On May the 10th, 2021, Raquel was violated from the CARES Act and taken into custody by the BOP. LuAnn is here today as my guest to speak out about what really happened and why the BOP's incident report regarding Raquel's failure to call into the halfway house on March the 4th, 2021, while moving about on her job from job site to job site is absolutely inaccurate. Welcome to my show today, LuAnn. We really appreciate you coming on to speak to us.
Well, thank you for having me come on to speak to everyone to let them know what actually happened that day.
Can you tell my listening? Yes. Can you tell my listening audience just a little bit about yourself before we start into that?
Yes, I'm LuAnn Hutto, and I own a drilling and cement company in Del Rio, Texas. Our offices are outside of the town and on a piece of property. And we make concrete products, and we also I'm a woman-owned water well drilling company and licensed by the state of Texas to be able to go and do the things that we do as far as bringing water to people.
Great.
That day, I hired Kelly, and she was so good and so honest and very good at what she did. She helped turn my company around. As far as QuickBooks goes, I had a young lady in here before that didn't know how to do it, but claimed she did. And Kelly sat there one day and reorganized our companies, one company for 2018, 2019, and 2020. And she was proficient and was able to speak with our accounting firm and with our accountant in Florida. She has always showed nothing but respect for herself, the country, her family, for our company, for our employees, for the people that we listen to every day that are in need of water. She's very well liked and very pleasant and a very honest young lady.
Right. And we talked on the phone, and I know you told me how much you appreciated Kelly, and some of my listening audience is not confused. Raquel is fondly known by the name of Kelly, and that's what her friends and people that know her call her. However, her legal name is Raquel, but for this purposes of this video, we will call her Kelly because that's what obviously you're used to referring to her as. So yes, Kelly received a shot back on May the 10th. And that incident report says that on March the 4th, 2021, that she failed to check in with the halfway house during a time when I know you told me she was in the vehicle with you and y'all were traveling to different job sites, and that you had witnessed the fact that that's not correct. And I know that you did ultimately give something to the halfway house in defense of Kelly prior to them taking her back into custody to try to explain to them how you were a witness that day. I'm going to let you go ahead and take over now and explain to my listening audience the things you told me on the phone and what you ultimately told the halfway house about that day on March the 4th of this year.
Well, as usual, we had to go out to one of my locations, which being part of Kelly's job description is helping me and meet with different vendors and different people that need to help us with this, with what was happening. We had spoken about it, and she and Denise were going with me in the car. We, as usual, when we get in the car, Kelly starts calling the BOP, and by the time we hit our drive out to the highway, she is calling them to let them know that we are moving. We sometimes don't have very good reception being in a metal building, so we always call at the end of the road before we leave. And Kelly had
Now, let me
called that
interrupt
day.
you one second here. At the end of the road means before you left the property. I believe your
Correct.
address on that property is 8072, maybe 277 North, something like that.
Yes, it is.
Okay, so
And
before you ever left the property of her job site where she was supposed to be, Kelly was on the phone to the halfway house letting them know, hey, I'm leaving this premises, moving to the next job site.
yes, we were leaving the office to go to 6081 Highway 377 North. We usually don't budge from there because it has good signal. So when we would call the halfway house, when she called the halfway house, it sometimes links into my car because of my office phone, and her phone will link into my car because I have Bluetooth in the car. And I can hear when she's calling in, and that day she called in and they were busy. It took us twice to call. And she said that we were leaving and headed to 8061 Highway 377 North. And we had people behind us that were from Oak Krantz Flooring in San Antonio, Texas, because we were going to go measure and make sure we had the right measurements for carpet. After she got off the phone, after she got through the first time, and then she did the second time, when we got off the phone, we started traveling to 8061 Highway 377 North.
Let me ask you another quick question, if you don't mind. Do you recall if this was roughly 11:08 a.m.? Because Kelly has phone records on that date that shows that 11:08 a.m. she did make contact with Dismiss Charities and talk to somebody for a few seconds.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay,
we were
so
waiting
that would be
for
roughly the
vendor to
time
get
that you
to-
recall.
Yes, it is the
Okay.
time that we were leaving.
Great.
And so we're sitting at the edge of the road after we get through. We got through the first time. We did not get through. The second time we got through, and we had people in a truck behind us waiting to follow us out. And she made contact, and they were busy and flustered. And so we turned right onto Highway 277 North, going towards the Highway 377. So you do have to pass through Border Patrol checkpoint, and we stop there always. They're our friends. They protect us, and we continue on to Highway 377. We take a right. Once you get out on some of these roads, it's like our office. We don't always get the best signal. And we turn left at our gate and travel back there. And at that point, the phone will cut off and you won't have any phone reception. And that was told to them. And Mrs. Virial and the gentleman that oversees her knows that. And
so the halfway house was aware that part of her job was to go with you out to this other job site on 377. And I think you're saying it's 8061 377 is the address. And they were also
correct.
aware that once you got out there, cell service was no longer available to Kelly, and they were okay with her still going as part of her job. They had okayed that previously?
Yes, and we've been going out there many times, and it's within the 100-mile radius that she was allowed to move about as long as we were calling. As we did many times of going in and out to do different and perform different jobs and job sites. So we get to the place, we have our guest vendors get out, and we look at everything that needed to be done, only because I wasn't going to be there, and she and Denise would have to work with them at a later time. So they did all their measurement. We got with our floor people from Oak Krantz.
And let me clarify. Yes. Denise is the co-worker that also witnessed all this and made a statement to the BOP on behalf of Kelly. Okay.
Yes, she is I have two young ladies that work in the office, one being Raquel Esquivel, which is Kelly, and Denise Delgado. And they usually go many places with me, and we take care of many different situations. And they've been with me on job sites, switching wells, which that's how you find water. They go with me to help with the customer and do the paperwork that is required to drill a well into Texas, getting all the information along in the lats, the longitude and longitude. So that, I'm sorry that I abbreviate many things just from experience. And then we get out there, we do our job, they measure, we leave. And once we hit the highway, Kelly's calling back and said, we are through, we're headed back into Del Rio. When we get into Del Rio, we turn into the office and she calls again. And we're ready to drop them off and get them to their truck. And we turn around and we come back into town to guide them back out of Del Rio. And because the vendors' names are Linda Mason, and I don't recall the other gentleman's name, but it's Linda Mason is who we were working with. So we get them headed in a different direction. But before we leave, once again, we stop at our road in front of 277. And she calls to let them know that we're going back into Del Rio. And so that's what we did that day. We called in, I believe, twice or 4 times.
Right. So her phone records show that 11:08 she called, and then she called them again at 1:44 p.m. Their incident report shows that they checked her location by GPS at 1:56, and they did show her back at the I think it's 8072 277. That's your address at the job, right? At where you're at now.
Yes.
Yes.
That is
okay.
Correct.
So that's what they show. However, they claim the BOP, the halfway house, claims that Kelly left at 11:02, which is kind of what you describe, her moving a little bit towards the driveway so that y'all could get reception. And then y'all didn't leave until she actually connected with them and drove away off the property. And then they show her calling again at 1:45, which I assume is what you just described when y'all got back to the property. And then they verified by GPS that she was at that address at 1:56. So, again,
Yes.
it's, what do you say to the fact that they say Kelly didn't make those calls that day?
Well, I have a really hard time saying that she didn't make those calls because of her anklet monitor, but we do this every day. Anytime I want to do something with Kelly or I need help, because it is a lot to manage by myself. And, like I said, I'm a licensed woman water well driller in the state of Texas, and there's lots of paperwork that has to be done. And I have many customers, and I have many situations that we need to address every day. And that's why we go out and we go to the post office, or there's so many little details that we do. And when we leave here, when we get to our location, when we get ready to leave the next location, and we call when we leave and when we arrive, when we go to get our license tags for our trucks and our vehicles, when we go to the insurance company, we call and we leave. When we go to the post office to pick up mail, we call and we leave. I mean, we call when we get there.
So it was just a pattern of what she had to do under the CARES Act. It was the restriction she was under, which kind of makes it hard for inmates to get out and get a good job, because not everybody wants to put up with this calling like you had to every time y'all had to go somewhere. So, thank you for being willing to hire somebody.
Yes, they should be thanking me, because she is an excellent employee, and I've had many employees that didn't even know half of what she knows, that she was honest and that she didn't say she knew how to do something she couldn't do it. She's always been very diligent, very smart, she cared so much about every little detail, and that shows the kind of person that she is that she did an excellent job, and we all miss her terribly. It's very hard to run the company And I have been so distraught over this that I've had to come, and I don't know everything. I'm either going to have to take a class, or I'm going to have to just write letters back and forth to Kelly, because I just don't know how to do it all by myself. And Kelly was a big part of that. She really helped organize us and get us back where we needed to be. And with other secretaries and other people that worked here, they said they did there when they did not. And it caused me lots of headaches and financial problems. Whereas once Kelly's came in and we started taking over and looking at it, I could leave it and it would be perfect. And we're out of trouble. We have no troubles. Everything is correct. Our accounts are all very happy. Everybody in our government is happy for paying all of our taxes and getting that straight and doing a good job, an excellent job. And I really put a hardship on myself and my company.
What would you say to Congress,
Okay.
the American people, that look at the CARES Act and don't understand what restrictions that people that are on home confinement under that act are really under? What would you say about that? Do you have any words to say about what you witnessed Kelly going through and how much of a hassle that she was put through just to try to get out and re-enter society and try to do a good job?
Oh, it's very hard. She, held her head up high. She did a great job. I think that the government needs to know, in Congress, that it is a good program, that they are willing to work. They'll go the extra mile for you. They do the right thing. I think that she showed that she had been rehabilitated. And I think that's just what integrity she shows, how she deals with the public. Anywhere that we went, she was always right up front, and we never held any secrets. I was never embarrassed. But it makes it hard to go and do a job. And in most businesses, the head office person usually goes to get the mail. They usually greet people. And for every place that we went, we still called. She still had to call. And it was, like I said, it was linked to my car phone. And it would come through the Bluetooth, and you would hear that a lot of times when she would call, the people that were at the dismiss house, were short and had no patience because they were dealing with so much. And it just made it hard. They would hang up on her before she, could say goodbye. And I mean, I was scared to call them. I did have the people that were over her case, her caseworker, Mrs. Vidial would come and visit. She, always, had a very nice time when she would come. We would sit and visit about all the things that Kelly has done and what she has been able to do since she's been out in this program. And I'm just at a loss without her. And the program needs to have not maybe so much calling in. I don't know why that we just didn't do it once a week, once a day. But she called when she left her house. She called when she got here. And when she first got out, I did provide a ride back and forth to her house. And every time we left to go pick her up, she would be calling when we were getting ready to get on the road to come. And then she would call when we would go, if we had any errands to run, when we would leave, and when we would leave each different businesses that we had to visit, just like the post office, to get the mail. And we would call when we, like I said, when we got there, and then when we left, and then we told them what other stop we were going to. And it does make it hard because I'm talking on the phone to different customers and different vendors and trying to keep everything rolling and keeping everybody happy. It's, when you're pushing big equipment, there's always a breakdown or there's always a problem. So if I was on the phone and she's trying to talk to them, I'd have to stop a few minutes to let her call and make contact. Sometimes I wasn't able to do that when we were talking at the same time. And they did ask a few times what we were doing. And she said, that's my boss, she's talking. And she has customer phone.
The ankle monitor, you can't hide those. So everybody could see the ankle monitor. And it's tracking her everywhere she goes. So I don't even understand all the phone calls. They know where you're at.
they do, and they know that she was never in any put in any situation that, you know, she wasn't going to do what she said she was going to do. Did
Yeah.
always first and foremost take care of that. And it was just very difficult always having that, the phone calls going on. It interrupted business at times, and I'd say, oh my gosh, you know, I cannot wait for the day that we don't have to do this. She had planned on, you know, continuing her education in accounting. We were going to get her set up for this summer so that she could do have, you know, get herself educated to where the other things that she wanted to do in accounting, which, you know, greatly we all in this community would benefit from. She was always very personable, very easy to talk to, and always very clean and neat, and ready to come to work and work. And I appreciate that about Kelly. And it makes it hard when, you know, she's having to call, you know, 4 or 5 times a day, you know, just to say where she's going. And she has an ankle monitor on. I
Exactly.
don't get the constant reassurance that she was doing the right thing. I think that it kind of makes everybody nervous. You know, it's kind of like, you know, what else can we do to prove it except for take a video every day? You know, I just don't think it needs to happen like that. I think at some point they need to be trusted, you know, to be able to go once a week and check in, or once a day would even be fine. But, you know, if you did anything, they had to know, which is fine. I mean, we did it, but Kelly did it with such pride and with such conviction, and she did exactly whatever they told her to do. And that's why I don't understand why this has happened to her. I'm very, very upset. I don't know what other moves. I just know that whatever we can do to help, and if it takes everyone writing letters to change this, we need to get it changed. Because I don't think all the time that the people that answered the phone at the Dismas house were as honest and did their job diligently in reporting every time that we called. It wasn't. I don't think there was ever one time we didn't call. We have always called, and she's always done the right thing. And I'm the one that fusses about it, not Kelly. And Kelly would just smile, and we would move on to the next subject. She had a way about her to alleviate any kind of stress for me, which makes it nice. And I think that should put the government and Congress at, you know, to know that she can and will be a great, you know, citizen, and she just needs to be given that chance.
Right. Well, I know, you know that Kelly is sitting out at the Valverde Detention Center, and that she was given a sanction, and they are telling her that, you know, basically it looks like she's headed back to prison. Of course,
Oh
we are
no.
trying to speak out and try to, you know, do something to help her. But, and she is pregnant, which is another, you know, concern. So, everybody will keep speaking out, and we'll keep trying to make our voices heard on this, because it is a very egregious act by the BOP, what they've done to her, and it's not warranted. And I thank you for coming on my show today and sharing this with my listening audience, because you're a neutral party. You have no reason to go to bat for Kelly, yet here you are speaking out because of the egregious acts by the BOP and what they've done. And I do appreciate you. And I know other people in, you know, that's been through this system like I have, and Kelly, are going to appreciate the fact that you took this time to stand up for what was right and didn't just sit back silent while they did this to her. So thank you for doing
Well,
that.
I just, you know, you're welcome. And thank you for doing what you do, because, you know, I feel like that they're not believing, you know, that there are certain people in this world that can do it and get their job done of what they were supposed to do. And they did do their job. I just know many others that don't always do their job. And I'm at a loss. And my company has suffered. I have suffered. I know her family has suffered. I know her fiance is suffering. I know that we are all suffering without her. And she just needs to be let out and come home. And, you know, I just don't think that this is warranted, in my personal opinion. And I do, you know, I have helped other people that have gone through dismiss to come here, and they always just phoned in, or they went once a week, or they went once a month, and they checked in and they did what they were supposed to do. And they did far worse things, but that's are there. It's just that they didn't have to go through what this young lady has had to go through. And,
Right.
anyone that is taking care of a family would know that this is not the right thing to happen to her, because she is very responsible and her family does miss her and needs her, you
Right.
know, and we have a child on the way. And I just think that she needs to be able to come home and do, especially if I would say, if I hadn't have called and Denise hadn't been in the car, I hadn't explained to the people in the back what we were doing, why we stopped, I could see then maybe that this wasn't, maybe we didn't, but we were verified. There was witnesses. We did it every day. This is how we did it. And not every day did she move about, but when I needed her, she was there. And I just feel like I need to stand up for her, because she was working. That's all she was doing, and doing
Well,
her
one
job
last
for
thing
me
before
and
I
for.
let you off. I would just want to verify one more time for my listening audience that after Kelly was taken in and y'all found out what she was written up for in the incident report, that you and the coworker Denise you've referred to in this video did write statements to the BOP about what transpired that day and how you witnessed her and heard her through the Bluetooth calling in to dismiss Halfway House. However, it would appear that the BOP has ignored those statements and found her guilty regardless.
And I don't understand that at all. It makes me want to write a letter to them, and because I was not included in that. I mean, I think that we are adults and that we are honest Americans, that we would like to be able to say what happened. And I think that they ignored those letters, and I'm upset about that. I think Congress needs to do something about that. When people do speak out, and there are witnesses, I think that should be, they're investigated. No one's come here. No one told me when the hearing was. No one said anything at all to where I could be of a witness and be a part. And I can't speak for Denise on that. Also, Denise Delgado, her coworker and assistant.
Well, by the way, they didn't tell Kelly when the hearing was either. They have violated her rights because they found her guilty of something without ever letting her defend herself. And that is a violation of BOP program statements on inmate discipline. So don't feel bad that they didn't contact you, because guess what? The person accused didn't even get to tell their side of it, if you want to talk about egregious behavior. Listen, LuAnn, we thank you for coming on today. Thank you for talking to my listening audience. And this is a very important video on Kelly's behalf, and I really appreciate you. Thank you so much.